Welcome to the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast, where we remember a time when stacks of cards were held together with rubber bands and Mickey Mantles were put in bike spokes. We hope you will enjoy and reminisce as you come along with us as we tell stories about the baseball cards from the Golden Age of Baseball. We will examine the state of the vintage baseball card market and talk to some of the greatest collectors in the hobby. You won't be hearing us talk about any chrome or shiny cards here. Now, to take you on this retrospective journey, here's your host, direct from the shallow end of the gene pool, my son, Mike Moynihan.
Yo, and hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Golden Age of Cardboard podcast. I'm glad you're here. My name's Mike, and the National is right upon us. I mean, we are days away from the show, and I couldn't be more excited. It's really crept up on me, my excitement. And I want to share tonight's episode with a whole bunch of my friends. We're going to have some people on that I am honored to call friends. And ironically, I met a lot of them for the first time at the event we're going to discuss tonight. And that is the YouTube Get Together. And I want to talk about it for this entire episode because I want you guys to hear how much this community can embrace pretty much everyone. Whether you collect modern or vintage, it doesn't matter. If you're going to be at the National and you are hearing my voice, I would love you to come Thursday night, Embassy Suites, 615, right across the street. You go in, there's going to be some signage. You're going to be able to find where everybody is. Just listen for the giant cacophony of cardboard dudes, and that will be where we are. And we'd love you to come. But I don't want you to take just my word for it because, of course, I want you to come. I'm kind of throwing this party, but it's a party for everyone. It's a party for everyone else. Truly, I have a great time myself, and I've met some wonderful people. But again, let's not hear it from me. Let me show you who you're going to get to hear from tonight. We have Mike from the Great Junk Wax Hero channel, Tony Southern Collector 14, that guy. It's Chris from Missouri. And fresh off of his ambassadorship with the Hobby Palooza is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Hi, guys.
Hey, man.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. All right. I told you guys you don't need to hear from me. So I'm going to start going around the room and having different guys tell their experience with the YouTube Get Together. I don't even have a name for it. I need marketing to come up with a really catchy name for it. But Mike, what was your first experience with that event? And do you remember your first time and what's happened since?
Yeah, so my first one was 2022, Atlantic City. I had just learned about the community like a month before when I discovered your channel, Mike, and heard about the YouTube Get Together. And I was planning on going to the National. So I said, I got to go to this YouTube Get Together. I was a brand new YouTuber. And I went, and it was such an amazing experience. And I was intimidated by the big YouTubers, like you and Mangini, but there was no reason to be. It was silly of me to be. And I sat around, I talked to various people like Sammy Thunder and Dom of Staven Sports Cards and Papa Rossi, and we just had a great time. And I said, I got to go back to the National every year now. Not because of the National, but because of the people, and mostly because of the YouTube Get Together. Meet a lot of people, not only other YouTubers, but commenters, viewers who never comment, but enjoy the channels. And it's just a phenomenal time.
Yeah, the Atlantic City one was weird because I'd never been there. And so I had no idea where we were going to put this thing on, honestly. And it was so last minute planning and scrambling and trying to figure out where we're going to get together. And it ended up being up in, the second floor of a hotel in the lobby. And it worked out really good, but it was not without its fear of failure. I mean, it was like, oh, this is never going to work. Where are we going to do this thing? And so last minute we figured it out, and I'm glad that worked out because you have now met other people. Have you been other years besides the Atlantic City one?
Then each one since, this will be my fourth. So last year was in Cleveland. It was a good location. It was like an American Legion. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that was thanks
Year
to Chris
before,
from Missouri. Worked that out.
Yeah, and then the year before was in Chicago, which I think was probably the best location of them all. In that, it was also, I feel like it was also upstairs, and weren't there like hotel rooms around where we were?
Yeah, it's basically just the open area that's open to the public. We're not renting this space. We're taking over this space. And we've done it the last 2 times in Chicago. I think the last one in Chicago, we had 300 to 400 people there, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Lots of folks. And last year was great as well.
Yeah, and that for me was the best location. There was good food. You had deep dish pizza, which I'm hoping we have again. I'm counting on it. I'm saving up my calories just for that. Great environment, great atmosphere, great guys and women. I know there's some women there too. I'm really excited about it. It's really the one thing that I'm the most excited about when I go to the National.
That's awesome. Are there people you distinctly remember in subsequent nationals that you've been to that, man, we became really good friends and it all started at that event?
Yeah, I think Dan and Greg I met last year, both of them, and we've become good friends ever since then. Those were the two that stick out for me. I remember meeting a lot of people. Like, I'm really bad with names, but if I see your face, I'm going to probably remember that I've met you. Hopefully people don't count on me remembering their names because I'm just bad at it.
Yeah. And it's hard. There's a lot of people. And
yeah.
It's funny how do you introduce yourself? All you guys are going to nod your head, but hi, I'm Mike, baseball collector. You know, it's like, hi, I'm Tony, Southern collector, or whatever. Chris just says I'm Chris from Missouri and everybody knows who he is. But
when I'm at church, I say, hello, I'm Chris from Missouri. What are you talking about?
I actually preached yesterday at my church and I almost started it with yo and hello. That would have been awkward. But Tony, let's go to you. What was your first one and what do you remember about it?
Yeah, so my first one was last.
Can I just share a really quick story and then I have to drop. I'm sorry, but I have to be up in 7 hours for work tomorrow. Tony, bear with me just for a moment. I have a really quick story from last year.
Of course.
We were standing outside the American Legion, and Eric, those back pages, who I'm a big fan of his Twitter and his YouTube channel, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, are you?" And he used a different name, and he said, I said, "No, I'm Mike," and he said, "Oh, I was looking for this other person." And I said, "No worries. Hey, I'm a big fan of you." And he said, "Oh, thanks. That's really nice. What's your name?" And somebody said, "Eric, this is Mike, John Quack's hero." And Eric said, "Who?" And everybody was like, "What?" And I just thought it was so amazing. This guy has no idea who any of us are. If he doesn't watch your channel, I love it.
It's hard. There's a lot of people out there, like you said.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you got to go, but you got to promise to watch the episode and you can hear everybody else's story.
We're going to make fun of you when you're gone. We're going to make fun of you starting in about 10 seconds.
I know. They did in the last one. I had to leave early for too. I understand.
But would you tell people to go if they're thinking about going, if they're on the fence?
Oh, absolutely. They should definitely go. There's a million people you can talk to. You're going to recognize a lot of people. Your favorite YouTubers are there and me. And the other commenters are there. You're going to meet people that you know. There were a commenter at the Chicago one that doesn't like my channel, and he and I got into the best discussion about the Yankees and Red Sox. It's just so many great things.
You know what we need to start saying? There's so many other collectors there, and that's what you're going to find as the common bond. The fact that we all entertain ourselves with YouTube is irrelevant in that moment because in that setting, we're all collectors, and you can find common ground with that. So, Mike, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this. Go to bed, young buck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good seeing you guys. See ya.
Bye, Mike.
Take care, Mike. Take care of that cat.
Cats, plural now. You can't ever trust a cat person, like really.
No, you're right.
But I do trust Mike, and he's a great
All right,
dude.
we're already talking bad about Mike.
That took that long. But Tony, now Mike will not be here to interrupt you. You can go right ahead.
Oh no, it was fine. So last year was my first one, and last year I didn't even have a YouTube channel, so I was one of the guys who just watched, and I watched all four of y'all, including Mike, who just left, and I watched Greg Miller a lot, Sammy Thunder. So there was a handful of guys that I watched regularly. I had seen John 3D80's Kid, and so we're on our way to the National. I'm with my buddy, and I had introduced him to card YouTube as well. So he had watched some like Mookie Chilson as well, and Darren Return to the Collecting. And so we get to the National, and just happenstance ran into Greg Miller and his dad, and introduced myself, and we kind of hit it off. And then the next day I ran into Greg again, and that's when he gave me his phone number. I told him I was thinking about starting a channel, and he's like encouraging me. And I told him that Tim and I were planning on going to the YouTube event. He goes, you got to come, you'll love it. So, we didn't know anybody really, but we didn't have anything else to do. Tim was all for it. So we show up, we had to drive down the road there to that VWF or whatever it was. And we go in there, and I see all you guys, and it was kind of cool. But the reason I wanted to go, and the reason I've even started my channel, and I was even debating on doing it, was I wanted community. That's what I wanted out of it. I didn't care about showing off my collection, or that's part of, that's what you do. You show cards and you talk about stuff, but I wanted community around me, so I wasn't in a vacuum. And so I wanted to go as a seek mission to see if it was real. And what I saw in that room was real. Everybody was talking. We sat down at a round table. We didn't know anybody. So, Tim and I at least had each other. And there was this Missouri guy named Billy Ballgame sitting there. I had never watched his channel in my life. Didn't know who he was. Didn't know how many subs he had. I didn't, that wasn't important at the moment. But we just start talking about cards and talking about where we live, where we're from, and just kind of just hit it off and talk each other's ear off. And then I remember, Mike, you walking by, and you were the first person I ever got into as far as like podcast. I found that before I found YouTube. And this podcast we're talking on right now, so that's kind of cool. And I told you, hey, Mike, I stood up and shook your hand. You don't remember this. And you had 1,000 things going on. And you sat down at the table beside me and Tim, and we told you it was our first, national we had ever been to. And you asked us how we liked it, what our experience had been. And then you were telling us about past ones and comparing them. And so for the listeners right now, just to kind of explain what that event meant to me, after that is when I decided to start a channel and to step out there. But even more so, I talked to Greg Miller every single day. I talked to Mookie Chilson every single day. I talked to Mike Petty. He wasn't there, but I met him through Greg. Mike Monahan's son works for me now. So how crazy is that? So I met Mike a little under a year ago at this event, and through building relationships and the things that, we've gotten to know each other and talking. I own a cabinet shop. His son loves building cabinets. He wants to make a career out of it. He was willing to move from Texas to come work for my business. So it's wild how all that went down. But when I went there, if I wouldn't have seen what I saw in there, I wouldn't ever start a channel. So, and here I am doing a video a week, acting stupid sometimes, putting on a wig the other night, acting the fool. But legend. And going to Strongsville and meeting all these guys. So what's going to be different this year? Last year I walked in there a total stranger. I felt like I knew everybody. I remember seeing Sammy Thunder and thinking, man, he's tall. Mike was taller than I thought he'd be. Orlando, I went up to Orlando and introduced myself. And Orlando hugged me and acted like he had known me his entire life. And at that time, Orlando was going through the vintage baseball catalog and showing all these pre-war sets and talking about them. And I told him how much I enjoyed it. And Orlando said, come with me, man. Come with me. Let me show you this. and you had that book there, some book, and you started going through it and showing it to me. And so now me and Orlando have hung out in South Florida, and we talk, and I consider him a friend. So it's crazy how this is all just kind of come. But now I have a community around me that is real friendships. We don't see each other all the time, but it's real. The Hobby Palooza this weekend was real. If you watch that, there was so many great people on those episodes, and there was this feeling of love and generosity in the air. And you had Orlando introducing every episode, and at Strongsville this year at the get together. I mean, I can't wait to get there this year. It's going to be it's going to be so different. But if you don't do a channel, come. You will feel welcome. You will meet people. You'll get to talk cards. We're just a bunch of nerds sitting around talking about cards. I mean, that's all it is. And there's nothing deep about it. It's just, so I've taken up a lot of time, so I'll stop. But
no, I want to ask you a question, because you said something earlier that I think is important, because I think a lot of people feel like you did, which is, all right, I'm going to go see if all this talk that they talk about how the community is and how tight it is and how welcome people feel and all of that, you basically wanted to go try to, let me see. I don't really believe it. It's too good to be true. And your experience showed you something different, right?
Yeah. And it's helped my collecting too, because I can reach out to people if I see a card I like that I trust that can give me their opinion. Through my relationships on Instagram as well and on YouTube, I've been able to pick up cards because people know what I like. And so, yeah, it's all kinds of things that help you, just have friends, man. Just have friends. It just gives you a world around you that you can relate to you on another level, because, most of our wives, they don't give a crap about our collection, but, we got people we can talk to about and spitball and just have fun with, man. So it's cool.
Cool. Chris, my good friend, I got to tell a Chris story real quick, because I first met Chris in person at the YouTube get together in 2019.
5 years ago, whatever that was. It was in Chicago.
Yes, in Chicago.
Yeah.
And that was the first one. And you came up to me and, hey, look, you want to get in my good graces, you offer to give me cards, and I'm going to give you the time of day. No. But Chris was like, hey, Mike, I got something for you. And he gave me some cards, and we sat and we must have talked half an hour at least.
I believe so.
The first time. And
you're taking away some of my thunder here, son.
Oh.
Go right ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, keep telling your story. No, keep telling.
No, it was just great. And now Chris and I have become super tight. We talk most days of the week that end in Y, and some way, somehow. And, it was a blessing to get to meet you, Chris. That's what I'm going to say.
Golly.
You go ahead.
Nah, you're going to make me be nice to you and Showcase Showdown. You keep that stuff. I mean, I could just stop and say ditto to everything that Tony just said passionately. And before I tell my little story, Tony there, who sounds as passionate about his cards and his friends that on TV, when you meet him in real life, he's the same dude. And I can't think of anybody that are the YouTube commenter or creators that are totally different than they are on YouTube. And Tony's definitely not one, but
maybe Scott, Reindeer Studios.
It's true. Yeah, my bad. But anyway, the first one I went to was in Chicago, but I remember my wife telling, here I collect cards in my little town of 1,100 people. And I had my little man cave and card room. And the only time anybody ever saw my man cave was coming over watching football games. We'd kind of host some games, but I never would really, they didn't want to see my cards. They didn't care about my cards, And I remember I remember setting up on my computer right next to my wife, and she said, you can find that stuff on YouTube. I said, you got to be kidding me. She said, no, there's all kinds of stuff. I bet we can find something. She said, what do you type? She goes, what do you want me to type in? And I said, vintage baseball cards. Nobody collects vintage baseball cards anymore. And she types in vintage baseball cards, and the first person that comes up is Mike Moynihan and baseball collector. And the second one is Ray from Philly. And I'm looking at this, and they got other videos of these vintage baseball cards. And I'm almost saying, you can go to bed. I'll see you in the morning, and I'll still be sitting here, kind of thing. And I remember, Mike, you were a little frustrated in some stuff going on. And anyway, I made it a mission. I tried to get a hold of you, and you said, come to the National, come to the meet and greet. And I said, I'm going to go. And I went to the National really by myself, even though I met up with a couple of young guys that needed a place to stay from our local card shop. And they stayed in my room because I had both those guys one's married with a kid now, one's engaged and to get married. And they weren't vintage collectors, but I had nobody around me to share my love for vintage baseball cards. And that's not just what this YouTube's about. It's just what I like to collect. And I remember going to the meet and greet and meeting you, and you were kind enough to give me 30 minutes of your time. You never met me in person. And I remember a couple things I said, and one of them was very important. I said, I want to thank you for what you do. Because I said, what you do, and I believe this, there's somebody out there like me. What you do is you get a guy like me in the middle of Missouri with nobody that collects baseball cards. And now I can watch, and I can now be friends. And that's it. I was just a watcher, a lurker, whatever. But man, I was seeing some great channels and some great, listening to some great knowledge. We go to the next national for me was in Atlantic City. And it's fun now looking back at some of your older videos of those get-togethers, because one of them, you and I are you're taking a video looking at some cards I picked up, and you take 2 steps away from me, and there's Don Field of Dreams. And I mention this because Don has become one of my best friends, but it's one of those things like when you're in 3rd or 4th grade, how'd you meet your buddy? And, we were playing kickball or whatever on the playground. Well, I watched that video, and Don was right there. And you, Mike, talked me into becoming a YouTube creator. And right after my very first video, Don got a hold of you to figure out how to get a hold of me. And we talked for 2 hours. And just right there was I have now one friend in Mike and one friend in Don. And then this thing just kind of takes off. And it's the meet and greet, just like you said. I know I'm taking too long too, but the best thing that has happened to me, I believe, is it's the friendships that you pick up and that kind of stuff. I've called Orlando numerous times over the last few years with a question for cards, and he's always generous enough to take my call, because he probably don't recognize the number, but he takes my call anyway. But during this whole run now, I mean, that was a few years ago. But when I created a channel, I have a new friend now who I mention all the time is Tom. Mm-hmm. And Tom, we live an hour and a half away. We didn't know each other. We didn't know each other at all. But he watched my channel, and he messaged me, hey, you're in Glasgow. That's an hour and a half away. Let's get together. And then a guy that's been a friend of mine for a while, but we got to reconnect because he was able to retire and stuff, is Brent. And so Brent went to Atlantic City, or Coop. Yeah, I'm sorry, Coop. And Mike, Coop even helped you with the basement find.
Yep.
And he went with me to Atlantic City, And now he's friends with Iconic Al and a couple of those guys. And now we travel together. And those guys cannot wait to go to another I call it yours the meet and greet at the National, Mike. I'm not going this year. They don't create videos or anything like that, but they go because they have as much fun meeting us, and going up. And you guys, the thing, everybody shares the same love for the cards. And if I would give some advice to anybody, they don't have to do a channel.
Nope.
They don't have to create a channel and do a channel to be part of this. What I would do if I was them, I would come out. I'd come to the meet and greet on Thursday, and I would go up to your favorite YouTube channel. And this is different. They always say, don't meet your idols, or don't you'll be disappointed. I guarantee you, to anybody listening to this, if you have a favorite YouTuber that you haven't met and you know they're going to be at that gathering, go talk to them. I challenge you that I'm telling you, you're gonna like them, and you're gonna make another friend. And again, you get into this, you get from this what you put into it. And so if you're not doing a channel, you might have to come up and say, hey, are you Orlando, a collector's dream? I love your cards. Oh, Tony, that Josh Gibson that you got, I saw that. You may have to initiate that, but listen, we're you. And I got this terms, I always say there's us's and there's thems. And if you are passionate about collecting and passionate about your cards, you're an us, and we will welcome you into the fold, whether you collect Garbage Pail Kids. The only card I don't collect is that 4 collectors card autographed. That one I don't.
You had to draw a line.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, if you're that passionate, you're an us. And if you want to become even a closer us, go to that YouTube meet and greet and just say hello, and you'll fall in. You'll see. And Mike, I owe you a lot. One, I owe you for, I owe you for giving me that. If you could have ruined it for me, Mike. If you could have ruined it for me when I went up and introduced myself to you, and you didn't. And as a matter of fact, you helped introduce me to other people, and now, I have friends in Pittsburgh, in Florida, in Texas, in West Virginia, in Washington, in California. It's something else.
In Canada.
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, those guys are great, but it's amazing, and I hope somebody can have as much fun doing this as I am, because I'm having a blast.
Orlando, he didn't say Tennessee or Florida.
No, he didn't. I heard that.
I caught that.
Dang.
Well,
Next up is
I'm
Orlando.
not going to say Missouri either. So.
You guys don't know this, but Orlando and I talked a little bit before our first in-person meeting, and I had known his channel and been commenting, and he'd been around a little bit before he came to the National the first time he came to the meet and greet. And I saw him, and we hugged each other, and we grabbed a corner. Remember this, Orlando? We grabbed a corner, and I was like, I just want to talk to you. I want to, just get to know you better. And we had just this great one-on-one time, not nearly long enough. It never is. But over the years, Orlando has become important to the whole hobby for sure. He's been important to me for a long time. But Orlando, tell your story about the get together and all this stuff.
I think Mike and I hit it off right away. We were like brothers, and we didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
But for me, it's I just never thought that I could even be part of this community at first. When the reason I started YouTube was, I would watch Mike and watch all these other guys and Silver Jackify and New York Yanks fan and all these guys. I watched these guys for years, and I was going through a rough time because my dad had Alzheimer's, and he was kind of the only one that I shared my collection with, because my kids weren't interested, other than when they were small and they went to the mall shows when I was a dealer, basically running around the whole mall. But so, when my dad passed away, and that was maybe about 3 months before I started my YouTube channel, my daughter would see me watching YouTube. And, she said, Dad, you need to do that. I said, no, I can't do that. I'm just shy. I get embarrassed. I can't even show my face. That's not me, But she said, you got a great collection and you know all about cards and all that stuff. And I brushed it off. And then for Christmas, she set up my YouTube channel. And she said, Dad, you're all set up. I'm using the name that you had from when you were a dealer, which was a collector's dream. And I set you up so you could start filming your first video. And I said, no, I can't do it. So she said, no, I'm going to help you do it. So she is a marketing person, and she created this fancy video with an introduction song. My first video is the best video ever, right?
Not true for most of us. Not true
best
for
one I've ever put out there, because my daughter did it, and she just recorded me and put some cards out there and kind of did a fancy little video out there. And January 1st, I released the video. And I really didn't know any YouTubers, but I would go out there and do some of the card shows and video some of the card shows. And I got to know Ryan Nolan from Breakout Cards, because he literally went to all the shows. And he's from Florida. He's a few hours from me. And he's the only one that I knew. And, I said, he's like, you got to come to, Atlantic City. That was my first one. So I said, yeah, I guess I'll go over there. So I went over there and, we did some deals out there. And I hung out with him. And he said, there's this YouTube get together out there. And I heard about it, but I was embarrassed to go, I didn't really know anybody. But a few weeks before the National, Vince, a New York Yanks fan 7, did a video about, because I put my Mickey Mantle collection out there, and he gave me a shout out. And I went from like 36 subscribers to like almost 200 subscribers. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go out there and I got to meet Vince. I got to thank him for this, And I wanted to see all you guys out there too. And I kind of briefly introduced myself, but nobody knew at all who I was, because none of my videos, you didn't see my face. And like I said, I didn't even have 200 subscribers. So as soon as I walk in there, Mangini's there, and I'm like starstruck. Wow, that's John Mangini. And he comes right up to me and says, hey, who are you? I want to buy you a drink. And, that just kind of put the guard down, and then I just started talking. And then all of a sudden, James Elite Hunter came by, Lou Rock, who's, was drinking and he was partying. And he's like, come on, took me by the hand and said, come on, I'm going to introduce you to everybody. And, I got to meet John Wade Boggs fan and Picker Jim. And, and then I saw Vince with Joe, Silver Jackify. And, at that point, I was like super excited, because that's the guy I wanted to thank. And I said, Vince, I love you. And everybody looks at me like, what? Who is this guy? And Vince looked at me with a face like, who the hell is this telling me that he loves me? So I went up there and said, I'm the guy that did the Mickey Mantle run, that had the 52 Mantle. And he's like, yeah, I gave you the shout out. And I said, that's why I love you. I've gotten almost 200 subscribers because of you, and I just wanted to thank him. And so I hung out with him and Joe and, saw Filmington and all these guys were there. And it was just one of these things that all of a sudden I felt like I was part of the community, and it was just within a half hour already, I'm a content creator. And I'm thinking, it's just me, but these guys were just so down to earth and so nice, and everybody showing their cards. And I saw there Adam from Vintage Sanctuary. He shared that he had gotten the maze, 52 maze. I think Mike helped him get it. And he was sharing that with everybody. And then I was showing my cards, and everybody was pulling out all their cards and talking. And I felt like it was a family. And it was the first time that I had ever felt like I was collecting with other people, because I collected alone, like everybody else. We collect alone for all our lives, until we finally meet a family. And even though I had just met all these guys, I mean, it was just a family. I knew you guys. I knew these guys from the videos. So I felt like I knew them, but until you go there and see everybody in person and everybody starts talking to you, it just becomes like, it's just like you've known these people all your lives. And it was just one of those things that, I was embarrassed to be there initially, because I'm like, who am I? Nobody knows me. I'm just this little guy there putting out some videos that nobody's watching at that point. Nobody's even know who I am. And, it's just being introduced to all the guys, and all the misfits came up to me. And then, these guys had everybody was just pulling everybody from everywhere. Hey, introduce you to him, introduce you to Orlando. Did you meet this guy? Did you meet that guy? And to me, at that point, I decided that, one of the things I want to do for my YouTube channel was give shout outs to other guys that, would help other people get into this community, because to me, it just recreated my entire collection, my entire collecting. I don't know how to say it, but it just revitalized myself from being so depressed from my dad just passing away. Now it was a whole new world. And I felt like, you know what? These guys are all like me. They love vintage cards. They love collecting. And, it didn't matter, I talk about Ryan Nolan, he was 23, 24 years old, and I'm in my 60s. And we were just best buddies. When we would sit down and talk about cards, it was just like we were all the same age. We were all the same thing. And, I roomed with him every national after that. And we'll sit there, we'll talk until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And me, I'm a guy like Mike, Junk Bikes Hero, goes to bed early usually. But we would sit there and talk for hours and hours and hours. And that's the beauty of this thing, that, what you see on video, that's how we all are. We don't change. I mean, there's guys out there, maybe the Jeff Wilsons of the world, but as far as the guys in the vintage community, what you see is what you get. I mean, Tony is the nicest guy. Mike is just my brother from another mother, and Chris is from Missouri.
Orlando, I would argue that. I would say you're better in person. Like, you're even nicer in person. And it's, I think all of us could say that our collecting journey has been forever altered by our experience within this community. And it's absolutely amazing. This year we have something different. I gotta tell you guys, we have a sponsor for this event. We haven't had one before. We've had a lot of people in the community help out and contribute and everything. And I've already had people this year like, hey, do I need to send you any money? And I'm like, nope, we got it taken care of. Thanks to another great collector, and who happens to be here with us. And I'm going to bring him on right now. Justin, you've been in the background listening to all these stories. You've been to the YouTube get together. You've been yourself, and now you're running an auction house called Rabbit Hole Auctions. And first of all, I want to thank you for sponsoring the get together this year. What made you want to do that?
Well, Mike, thanks again for having me on. It was great to listen to everybody backstage, and everybody had similar things to share as to what really brought them in the community. So I've been in executive recruiting for many years. I've been to conferences for many years. I've never felt more comfortable within a so-called get-together in a conference than I have with the YouTube community. This will be my third year as a collector first, joining the community get together again, and the way that people support each other, root for each other, share with each other, and there are no strangers. So very organically, as we launched this boutique auction house, when we were talking about participating and being part of it, it just felt naturally that I wanted to contribute, be part of the fabric. I'm Chicago based. I heard Mike Junk Wax Hero talk about deep dish pizza. So we've got that covered. And yep, it just feels special. When I first came to the 2023 National YouTube Get Together, I didn't know anybody either. And similar, I went upstairs. It's across the street at the Embassy Suites. It's truly a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a great location. I had recognized a couple of people and a little bit starstruck. Like, those are the people I've been watching. I'm primarily an Instagram guy, but I like watching all the YouTube videos and listening to podcasts. And, when I met a couple people in person, I know a couple of folks have talked about John Bangini, but I bought him a bourbon and I was like, I couldn't like spend the money fast enough. I'm like, my inside voice is, I'm buying Mangini a drink. And I didn't want to ask for his autograph, but I might have thought about it because it was like really cool to be with somebody I'd been watching, and I admired his collection. I've been collecting since I've been 8 years old. So I can, authentically talk about cards that I love, and we had cards in common. And I, as you were talking about, all these people are the same, if not better in person. So, for me to be part of it, being a Chicago person, I'm honored and I'm grateful that Rabbit Hole Auctions is launching and scaling during the National. Our first auction officially launches on September 28th. And it's really fun to be a collector first and have that intersection of community, auction house with a personal touch. So, I couldn't be more comfortable amongst people that I know and others that I don't, because nobody's a stranger at the YouTube event.
Amen to that.
I agree.
Well,
yeah.
If Justin's voice sounds familiar to some of you that are listening to this on podcasts, it's because Justin was on my podcast a few weeks ago, and Justin and I have known each other a couple of years now, like he said. And during that episode, we hatched this idea of him sponsoring the YouTube event. In that episode that aired a few weeks ago, I said, hey, go register for his auction house, Rabbit Hole Auctions. And we were trying to push for me to get to 10,000 subs, which I've never been a sub whore, trying to get subs. I think it'll build, if you build it, they will come kind of thing has always been my thought. And if you're your authentic self, you're going to find your people. Right. And that can be 10 or that can be 10,000. That's okay. But I haven't reached 10,000 subs yet. So if you haven't subbed yet, you might as well, if you're sitting here. But there are people that did, and also did what we had asked them to do. And Justin, you were generous enough to give away 3 different prizes: a first prize of $500, $250, and $100 credit towards your first auction, or any auction, I guess, at Rabbit Hole, right down the road. It doesn't have to be this first one, right? It can be any of them.
It's ongoing. We'll likely have 2 in 2026. So
perfect.
We're going to keep it small and intentional. Likely one in the spring, one in the fall will be a rotation. But any credit that's won in any giveaways, there's no expiration date.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I happen to have a list of those names of people that did that, and we're going to spin the wheel. I know Chris. This is going to give Chris some more PTSD if he sees the wheel, but
oh, no kidding.
But I am going to add the wheel to the screen here because we're going to pick these 3 winners, and then we can talk a few more minutes. These are all the people that had signed up. for Rabbit Hole. There's a whole lot of names here, 46 total. I'm going to shuffle them. Orlando, you did it last night. Tell me how many times to shuffle, and it better not be 4 because that's 4.
Let's do it 3 times.
3 times. 1, 2, 3. This first time I spin, it's going to be for the $500 credit to Rabbit Hole Auctions. Let's see who's going to win that. Ed Walgren, who is, I think, isn't that Eddie's Cardboard Chaos?
Yes, I believe we heard his name the other night. So yeah, what a good guy.
$500 for him. All right.
He wins all the time, though.
Well,
he does. He wins all the time.
You sound bitter.
No,
Chris. All right.
No.
Let's 1, 2, 3 more shuffles. And here we go again. This is for $250 credit to Rabbit Hole Auctions. Kevin Ludwig, congratulations. And this final one, I'll shuffle 3 more times, and then this will be for $100. And then after this is done, Justin will talk about how people can claim their prizes. Fused Ellis. Awesome. Okay. So there's the end of that. But that's not the end, is it, Justin? Tell the 3 guys how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, congrats to the 3. Recognize the names. We appreciate you subbing to Mike's channel and registering as well. We'll be in touch via email in the next 24 hours. And we have a section where we'll actually assign a credit to your account. So it'll be in your account, pre-baked, and we'll make sure, obviously, hoping you'll like something in the first auction. But if you don't pull the trigger on the first, it'll be ongoing with no expiration date. But congratulations. And what we're going to also do is during the YouTube get-together, we're going to do 2 more giveaways. As long as you likely, if you're there, you're likely sub to Mike's channel. We'll double check that. But as long as you're a new Rabbit Hole Auctions registration, we're going to have QR codes, and it'll be easy to register on your phone. Call it within the 24 hours of the event. The reference referral code has been Golden Age of Cardboard or Mike Moynihan. So we're tracking all that. We're going to do 2 more giveaways on site of $250 each. So we'll do 2 more. Wow. Yeah. Wow. And we're thrilled. It's been a ton of fun to build the brand. A fantastic outpouring of support. It's a very noisy space, the auction ecosystem. It's all about your product and your relationships and having kind of a boutique and specialized feel. And we've almost doubled in size in 3 months. And this is all kind of pre-curated lots. We're already well over 100 lots with some really cool stuff that people haven't seen before. And then some really great mid-level vintage. So more to come during and after the National, and just really humbled and grateful for all the support in the community. As I said earlier, winning together, rooting for each other, supporting each other. And for me personally, if you listen to my podcast with Mike, I'm a collector first. So this has been, a journey since I've been 8. I believe the Rabbit Hole was born organically through my journey, through all of my collectibles and stuff. And it's just really fun to kind of have that intersection now of an auction house and being so passionate about vintage and collectibles. So I'm thrilled about what's ahead and really excited for the first one.
Well, the only concern I have, Justin, is that after all these guys, they're not coming because of me. They're coming because they want to meet all these other guys. And now that they've heard this, we may have to order some more pizza. That's all I'm saying.
The budget might have gotten a little bit bigger.
But that's a good problem to have, I've always said. And look, if you're there, say hi to anybody. Please do. Whoever, somebody said that earlier, go up and just say hi. I think you'll be surprised, pleasantly surprised with the interaction. And I mean, we all know how it is because we've all been there and we've all been walking timidly into a room. I remember the first time I saw Eric Those Back Pages, very similar experience to Mike earlier. And I was like, holy crud, there's Those Back Pages. I can't possibly go talk to him, you know? And now he's one of my best friends in the world. And it was so like, I was the silly one in that equation, not, you know, and like, what was I thinking? He's a great dude. He's one of my best friends. And shoot, I'm on a baseball card with him right over here, you know? So I chat with him all the time. That's the kind of friendship you can find, the kind of collecting community that we have built together. Everybody has been a part of building it. Every person's a brick in the wall of this community. No one is, Mangini was elected president, but he's not. I mean, we all have to give him grief for that. But
Mike, let me tell a little story real quick though. So you know how I went in that room wondering if it was real, right? Is this real? You know, I went on a find and seek mission, and not only was it real, but less than a year later, my buddy Orlando on the screen right here goes through a health crisis. About everybody in that room sent best wishes on one of my videos to that young man down there. And it was one of the most heartwarming things that I've ever been a part of. I went from meeting him, shaking his hand, to seeing all these guys just bond together as a group and just pray for this guy and wish him well on a video. And I would like to think that helped Orlando get through what he went through there. But it's not just about cards, man. It's about life. It's about going through things together. And it's a real honest to goodness community.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. Really appreciated that very, very much. And it's true. The community has helped me through these tough times. If it wasn't for you guys, you know, I couldn't have remained as positive as I've been. And one more thing, Mike.
Yeah.
When I saw Dr. Beckett, I didn't even know there was a real Dr. Beckett. And he was there, and he was the friendliest and nicest guy you could ever meet. And to me, he was my idol since I was a kid, you know, Dr. Beckett. So guys, you got to go. He'll be there too. I'm sure Dr. Beckett will be there. Just like he's a regular guy. He does exist.
I was at Dr. Beckett's house a couple of weeks ago having dinner. I mean, he is a regular dude and a great guy. And everybody, you could say that person after person after person, you could echo the same sentiment. And man, yeah, it's fellowship, you know, it's true fellowship. And that means there's a connected bond beyond just, it's not just normal friendship. It goes beyond that. And I could say that about all the guys on this screen. I can say that about hundreds of other guys that we haven't even talked about tonight. Guys that have come and gone and guys that are no longer with us genuinely. And so please come be a part of it. If you haven't heard enough tonight, then you're just not going to hear it. You'll never be convinced. If this episode did not convince you to go, then you're a lost cause. I don't know what to do. This is the best I can do to get you guys to see how valuable this can be in your hobby life. And truthfully, just from organically growing in your regular life. So man, that's a big deal. We need that as human beings. It is valuable. This goes way beyond cards, like everybody's been saying. So be a part of it. Take a risk, get out there, meet some new people. Come one, come all. If you're hearing this, you're invited. As I say all the time, these guys will keep rallying the troops to get as many people there over the next week or so. And I hope that every one of you can be there. Justin, thank you so much again for sponsoring. Everybody, if you're there, go say hi to Justin and give him a big hug. He's a hugger. So he might not be, but he's going to be that night.
He will be. Free hugs. Free hugs. I'm bringing Julie. I'm bringing my wife because you can't explain it. If someone would have explained to you, Tony, before you went last year,
You would have told them they were full of baloney.
Yeah.
And you can't explain it. So my wife wants to see it, and I want to show it to her because it's something that I've enjoyed. I was going to say proud, but that's not the right word. I'm not proud. I am honored to be a part of it and to be, I don't know, the guy that just goes, hey, let's all show up at this time and this day. I wish I could tell you guys it was more complicated than that. Last year was a little more complicated. There were some moving parts, but by and large, it's like, hey, let's just all hang out. Let's set a time and intentionally hang out. And that's what this is. Orlando, thanks so much, buddy, for being here. Chris, you too, as always. Love you, man. And Tony, you're the best as well. Mike is not here, but another great voice. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully we'll see you next week at the National. And above all, keep collecting. But collect together. Let's collect together. See you guys.